right. Well, you have arrived at the webinar about the residential JD overview. We're going to describe the three different or the numerous different ways that you can do a residential JD at Vermont Law School and teach you what a law clinic is. So tonight you're going to meet Dean McCormick, our Dean of the Law School. She's going to describe the different ways that you can do the residential JDs at Vermont Law School. And she's also going to tell you what a law clinic is. And then you're also going to hear from two of the directors from some of our law clinics. Don Hayes, Don, maybe if you give a quick raise of your hand, is the director of the South Royalton Legal Clinic. And he's also the director of the Vermont Veterans Legal Assistance Project. And then we also have here Delcy Winders. She's the director of the Animal Law and Policy Institute, and she's going to tell you all about the Farmed Animal Advocacy Clinic. So we'll start off with Dean McCormick giving us an overview, and then you'll hear from each of the directors of those two law clinics. And then we'll break into a Q&A where you're welcome to type your questions in the chat or raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question out loud. Dean McCormick, will you start us off, please?
Thanks, and welcome, prospective students. We're glad to be with you this evening. I'm Beth McCormick. I'm the Dean of the Law School, logging in today from Warren, Vermont. And I really want to thank you for joining us. I love to talk about the law school. And today, in addition to telling you a little bit more about the clinics, I thought I'd share with you a few of the reasons that I love this school. I've been working at Vermont Law School for about 14 years in various positions and been the Dean of the Law School for about 4 years. I joined the law school from private practice, where I was a litigator in Boston before I joined the faculty here. And that's really one of the reasons why I love the law school so much, is that so many of our faculty come from a practice background. So at Vermont Law School, we very much believe in learning by doing. When I went to law school, it wasn't unusual that none of my law school professors had ever actually practiced law or taken the bar exam. And it's a really different model that we have here. Most of our faculty have had some practice experience before law school, and they bring that into the classroom, which I think makes students very practice ready as soon as they graduate. Along that, we also have a requirement that students complete various credits of experiential learning as part of their JD degree, and that's what we're really going to focus on tonight. There's a couple of different ways that students can do that. One of the most popular ways that students do it is they participate in a legal clinic. And so for those that don't know, a clinic is really like a little law firm right on campus that specializes in a specific area. So students will practice representing real clients under the supervision of a faculty meeting, like faculty member like Professor Winders and Professor Hayes, and they'll actually participate in depositions, go to court, meet with clients, interview clients, and all of the things that you would think of that a real lawyer does for a real client, you do as a student where you earn academic credit for it. I'm really proud of the fact that our school has 9 different clinics, and so students can really specialize in their clinics in lots of different areas. They can work on, we have the Environmental Advocacy Clinic, we have the South Royalton Legal Clinic, which you'll hear from Professor Hayes about. We have the Farmed Animal Advocacy Clinic, which you'll hear from Professor Winders about. But in addition to those, we sometimes specialize in veterans law, immigration law. We have a food and agricultural policy clinic, an energy clinic, and a transnational environmental practice clinic, and an environmental justice clinic. And I probably missed 1 or 2 in there. Our South Royalton Legal Clinic does a lot of family law as well. So it really gives students the chance to practice by doing as part of their JD degree, which we think makes them marketable in the job market once they graduate. If you can't find what you want to do in a clinic, and even if you can, many of our students also participate in externships. And externships is an opportunity for you to practice really anywhere in the United States and earn academic credit for it. You do so under the supervision of an on-site supervisor and then a faculty member on campus. And really, you can do this in any state and in any sort of type of legal job that you can imagine. So we have students that serve as externs in judicial chambers, in law firms, in nonprofits, in government agencies, and really anything that you can imagine. You can also get that experiential training through externships. And it's one of the reasons why I am so proud of our JD program. Another reason why I really am proud of our program is the flexibility that I think that we can offer. If you haven't visited South Royalton, Vermont, I really encourage you to do so, and it is among the most beautiful places that I have been. Many people vacation in Vermont, and so it is an honor to practice, to teach, and to work in a school that is located in such a beautiful natural environment. That said, it might not be for everyone for 3 years. So there's a number of different ways that you can earn your JD without being physically in South Royalton for 3 years. We have an accelerated JD program, for example, where students complete their JD degree in 6 semesters, but 2 calendar years. So for that degree, students will go fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, summer. Then they'll usually take the bar in February and be practice ready and ready to practice before most of their classmates are even going to graduate and sit for the bar. So it also sometimes gives a competitive advantage in the job market because it's not a time where everyone is seeking employment. So the accelerated JD program, you can do most of the things that a traditional JD student can do, participate in law review, participate in moot court, but you do it in a much more compressed period of time, which is popular with many students that are eager to get back into the workforce. We also have a reduced residency JD. So in this program, students would complete 3 semesters in South Royalton, Vermont, and then the remaining 3 semesters they can do through a combination of online classes, independent research projects, and then those externships that I talked about. So you would only need to be here for 3 semesters under the reduced residency program. We also have an extended program where students complete fewer credits each semester over a longer period of time. So those students will complete 10 to 12 credits per semester over 4 calendar years. And so they can take a little bit more time with their JD. This can be popular with many of our parents or students that just want to take a little bit more time to complete the degree. The cost ends up for tuition ends up being about the same. You just complete it over a longer period of time. So there's lots of different flexible options for students as part of our JD program, of which we are proud. The third reason I love our school is the community. I already talked to you about the physical beauty of the Vermont Law School campus in South Royalton, Vermont. You can see it in the back of Jordan's screen today at night. And it is really a special place, but even more special is the community within the buildings. We are located across 17 buildings on our beautiful campus. And in that community, I think you will find that you are cared for and cared about and cared for. It is a close-knit community, and I don't know if that's because of the rural location, because of the types of mission-driven students that are drawn to our school, because of the harsh weather sometimes, but for whatever the reason, it is a very close-knit community. Many of your faculty and staff have worked at the school for 30 or more years, and they are absolutely committed to your success every step of the way. And I mean that through academic advising, I mean that through advising for career services, through our academic success programs assistance with you passing the bar exam and preparing for the bar exam, in addition to just the regular staff and faculty that you'll encounter on a daily basis. You will find that it is a cooperative environment. It does not have the competition that you sometimes hear about at other law schools and that I personally experienced at the law school that I went to. And it is a community that really cares about one another. One of my favorite stories about our staff who are so committed to our students is that it was my first week of school at Vermont Law School. I had just started, it was 14 years ago. And I met a student, my office was right next to the person who at the time managed housing for our students. And a student was there and said, my landlord said that the door would be open and I've got my dad here and the U-Haul here and the door is locked and I don't know how I'm going to get into my apartment and he's not answering the door or answering the phone and I don't know what to do. And he was very stressed out. And I said, well, our housing person will be back any moment. You can wait here. I'm not sure she's going to be able to help you, though, because this is a private landlord. We don't own houses on campus, but absolutely wait for her. Maybe 20 minutes later, I was leaving my office, and the apartment he was talking about was right across the street from my office. And I see our housing coordinator shimmying through a window to get into this building to get the key that was supposedly on the counter for this student. I later found out that she had had permission from the landlord to do so, but I think it really shows you how committed our staff and our faculty are to our students at every step of the way. And I hope that if you're considering our residential program, you get a chance to visit, and I think you will feel that on campus. Our motto on campus is Swans Fly Together, and students, even though we live in a very small town, there are events going on campus on a daily and nightly basis. So there is always something to do, always something to learn through the various lectures and events and social events that occur on campus. And the final reason that I love working at the school and I'm proud of the school is what our alumni do in the world. If you graduate with a JD from us, you will join about 9,000 alums across the country. We have alums in every state and out of the country as well. Our alums work in government positions. They work at the courts. They serve as judicial clerks. They work at nonprofits. They work at large firms. They work at small firms, in-house. There are solo practitioners, many faculty members as well. And so it is really a special community. And I think you will be proud to join them as alums if you graduate from our program. So I could talk a lot more about why I love the school, but those are some of the main reasons. And I want you to hear a lot more about our clinical experiences because I do think that is something that really sets us apart from other schools you may be considering. And so with that, I'm going to pass things over to Professor Don Hayes, who directs our South Royalton Legal Clinic, to talk a little bit more about that. And I will be on for the whole session to answer questions as they arise. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dean McCormick. My name is Don Hayes. I'm the director here at the South Royalton Legal Clinic, right here in beautiful South Royalton, Vermont. Beth cannot say it any better. We do live in a very special part of the state. So if you do decide to come here, you will have many great memories, either floating down the White River or hiking up to Kent's Ledge or whatever. I myself am a 2010 graduate of VLGS. I spent about 10 years in private practice before joining the clinic. The South Royalton Clinic itself has been around since 1979. Since then, the clinic has served thousands of low-income Vermonters by providing free legal services across a wide variety of practice areas. We literally have served thousands of clients. Most recently, the clinic focuses on family law and veterans law. Our family law program, we deal with release from abuse orders, divorce, child custody. In our veterans law program, we deal with veterans benefit appeals, Social Security disability appeals, discharge upgrades, expungements, bankruptcy matters, simple estate planning, landlord-tenant, and foreclosure matters. Our clients come from a wide variety. We generally provide our services all across the state of Vermont. Our clients come from a wide variety of referral partners that we've established over years of hard work in the community. We work directly with the VA, the Veterans Administration Medical Legal Center, Medical Center down in White River Junction, Vermont, under a medical legal partnership. We have a legal services contract with supportive services for veterans' families. We have a partnership with Veterans Outreach, a group that provides services to veterans throughout the state, as well as a few other veterans' residences scattered around the state. Our family law group gets referrals directly from our superior courts in Orange and Windsor County. Vermont Law Graduate School is located in Windsor County. Adjoining county is Orange County. We get referrals directly from their family court, as well as the WISE program, which provides services to victims of domestic violence. We currently have over 200 active matters across a wide variety of practice areas. Students at the clinic will get an opportunity to work on all sorts of matters. So the one question, that they pose us with is, what is clinical education? Why is clinical education so important? Well, the law is abstract. We consider ourselves to be a teaching hospital. At a clinic, whether it's the South Royalton Legal Clinic or one of the other clinics that we offer here at VLGS, you will develop the habits of thought necessary to make you a successful attorney. We are a place where students can work on applying the knowledge that they've gained in the classroom to real-world problems. Students manage their own docket. They, under the careful supervision of a licensed attorney, they deal with clients directly. We often say that students learn how to think like a lawyer in the classroom, but they learn to be a lawyer at the clinic. That's true. So what do I mean really when I say you learn how to be an attorney? Well, it's really getting to learn by doing. Students are going to get an opportunity to work on a wide variety of practice areas, from administrative law, like arguing a case in front of an administrative law judge, or federal courts, like representing a debtor in bankruptcy court. It may be a state court in a family law proceeding, or a wide variety of other transactional things that we may deal with, like simple estate planning. Next, through this work, students get to learn how to work with clients, which is important. It doesn't matter what kind of area of law you end up practicing in, you will almost always have a client. Clinical experience will give you the opportunity to work directly with clients, to develop those important habits of thoughts that make managing clients effective and beneficial. The South Royalton Legal Clinic, you as a clinician will manage the matters that you're assigned from start to finish. You'll work through the highs and lows. You get to develop your professional identity, which is very important in terms of developing and making practice-ready attorneys. Additionally, and I think this is most important, we get to make an impact. We do work that impacts real people, that impacts real lives. We provide services to people who do not normally have access to the legal system for a variety of reasons. Maybe the field of law is intimidating or scary. We help demystify that. We empower people. We provide support. We provide guidance. We provide compassion. The clinic provides an opportunity to learn the law, learn how to be a lawyer while doing incredibly good and valuable work. In fact, we often say that if it weren't for the clinic, many of the issues that people come in with would go unmet. Many of the needs would go unmet. So we make a huge impact in our community. Finally, students get the opportunity to engage in the very important skill of matter management. Students here at the South Royalton Legal Clinic handle anywhere from 8 to 15 matters. Students are responsible for developing case strategies, managing the clients, and help drive matters towards a conclusion. There's no better experience in trying to figure out what it's like to be a lawyer than to actually practice being a lawyer. In short, as I said earlier, you get to think like a lawyer in the classroom. Here at the clinic, you get to be a lawyer, and that really makes a difference. I could go on and on, like Beth, I could go on and on about how great it is here in South Royalton, how great it is here at the South Royalton Legal Clinic. I'm constantly amazed and inspired by the work that our student clinicians do. I'm a crier. I cry at Hallmark commercials and things like that, but I'm very proud of the work that we do and the impact that we make in our community. And I'm excited for the opportunity to share with all of you if you make the decision to come here to beautiful South Royalton to join us. So really, that's all I have to say about the clinic. Again, I could go on and on, but I think I've said enough.
Thank you very much, Don. And now I'd like to have Delcy Winders tell us all about the Animal Law Clinic. And before we do that, I actually just want to do one thing. I was a little remiss in the beginning, and I failed to introduce my two colleagues from admissions, Ellen Duby and Jordan Cooper. If you guys don't mind raising your hand. Thank you. All right, Delcy.
Thank you, Shirley. I will agree. It is very beautiful here. So I'm here in my office on campus, and I've got two big windows. And on multiple occasions, I've been sitting here with students, and a bald eagle will fly by. So it's that kind of place. So I'm going to talk about experiential learning opportunities with the Animal Law and Policy Institute here at Vermont Law and Graduate School. So I'm going to first describe the Farm Animal Advocacy Clinic generally. Then I'm going to talk about some of the matters that students have gotten to work on through the clinic. And then at the end, I'll briefly discuss some of the many animal protection organizations that have hosted our students as externs. So the Farm Animal Advocacy Clinic empowers students to become effective advocates for animals, while at the same time developing skills that can be applied to a wide variety of areas of the law, so not just animal law, throughout their careers. And it also gives them hands-on experience with real-world matters. So student clinicians in the Farm Animal Advocacy Clinic, or FAC, represent clients in litigation, as well as in legislative policy and regulatory matters. All of them aimed at improving the treatment and the status of the animals we raise for food. So we raise billions with a B of land animals for food in this country every single year, and even more aquatic animals. We don't even know the number because we only count those by weight, by the tons. But because our food system, our industrial animal agriculture food system is so vast, it implicates basically every single legal institution and every area of the law. So it's everything from local prosecutors to a myriad state and federal regulatory agencies that have overlapping authority and responsibilities, and then lots of things in between. So the FAC prioritizes legal matters that have the greatest potential impacts for farmed animals, the greatest potential learning opportunities for students, And then also has an emphasis on amplifying the voices of those who are traditionally underrepresented and those who are disparately impacted by industrial animal agriculture, because these facilities are generally cited in environmental justice communities. So students in the FAC get a wide range of legal advocacy skills that, like I said before, are transferable to other areas, but also are central to farmed animal protection. So they learn how to navigate ethics issues that arise in the particular context of impact litigation. They learn how to build and manage coalitions of clients with divergent interests. They get to practice client outreach and client communication. They get to develop relationships with experts, and they also learn how to navigate the relationship between legal and media strategies. So FAC students participate in every step of the process, from interviewing potential clients and client representatives to drafting pleadings and other advocacy materials, working with experts, and beyond. Depending on the matter and the timing, students may have an opportunity to appear in court or to appear before legislative or administrative bodies to speak on behalf of clients. I can't talk too much about matters that student clinicians are currently working on for confidentiality reasons, but I can share that students in the FAC are currently working on a wide array of matters, including a lawsuit challenging the U.S. Department of Agriculture's decision to delegate important inspections of pigs at slaughterhouses to untrained slaughterhouse workers. They're researching potential environmental litigation against a prototype insect farm. They're doing work related to genetic pollution caused by aquaculture. They're working to address the Environmental Protection Agency's longstanding failure to regulate air pollution from factory farms. And they're drafting legislation to address the extreme speeds at which animals are slaughtered, which harms workers, animals, consumers, and the environment. Prior FAC projects include last year, students successfully litigated a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the Federal Bureau of Information, the FBI. So the FBI had refused to release records about its involvement in the North American Meat Institute's conferences. So the records that were released, thanks to our lawsuit, revealed alarmingly that the FBI presented on its work to protect the meat industry, including efforts to deploy laws regarding weapons of mass destruction and domestic terrorism against animal advocates. So this lawsuit was featured on the Animal Law podcast. Students also drafted two major sections of the Industrial Agricultural Accountability Act, which Senator Cory Booker introduced. So the section that the FAC clinicians drafted addressed transport of farmed animals as well as slaughter deregulation. Students also drafted a petition for rulemaking seeking to close a loophole that allows the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety Inspection Service to disregard the environmental impacts of all of its decisions. And then in another matter that was also featured on the Animal Law podcast, students in the clinic drafted a Securities Exchange Commission complaint against JBS and Pilgrim's Pride, two of the world's largest meat and poultry producers, for false and misleading sustainability claims related to animal welfare practices, deforestation, and net zero commitments. In addition to all of that, we make sure our FAC clinicians get to visit a farmed animal sanctuary every semester, which is a great way to remember why we're doing this work and also to lighten what can sometimes be heavy work. So I'm going to share just a couple quotes from former FAC clinicians about their experiences. So one said, "The Farmed Animal Advocacy Clinic was absolutely the highlight of my past 3 years of law school." Another said, "I came to BLGS to learn how to advocate for animals through law and policy. FAC helped me achieve this dream of mine." And then a third said, "I learned more from working for the FAC than I ever thought I would." And many of the students who have participated in the FAC have gone on to work for animal protection organizations, including most recently the PETA Foundation and Animal Defenders International. So in addition to the Farmed Animal Advocacy Clinic, as well as opportunities to work on animal protection related matters in other VLGS clinics, including the Environmental Advocacy Clinic, the Food and Agriculture Clinic, and the Environmental Justice Clinic. The Animal Law and Policy Institute also helps place and then supervise students in externships in a wide range of animal protection organizations. So students have recently externed with the Animal Legal Defense Fund, Animal Wellness Action, Animal Partisan, the Center for Biological Diversity, Mercy for Animals, and more. I'm currently supervising an externship with Senator Cory Booker's office. And because we have alumni with leadership roles at virtually every national animal protection organization, as well as with many smaller organizations, we're really well positioned to place our students into externships and after graduation into jobs that fit their interests within animal law, whatever they may be. So with that, I think we're ready for questions. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, great. So for all of you in the audience, feel free to either type a question in the chat if you're more comfortable that way, or we're a small enough group tonight. You can certainly raise your virtual hand and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Well, I'll throw an easy one out there to begin. I'm Ellen from admissions. This question might be more to help a student understand when in their years here do they get involved in a clinic? How does that process really work? Are they talking to an advisor? Should they know before they even come to orientation that this is something they want to do? Can you talk a little bit about that process, and maybe I'll throw that out and see who wants to answer.
Kelsey, if you want, I can. I work closest with Amanda, who handles our Common App, so I might be best suited to talk about timeline. So, when does the clinic fit into legal education? Your first year, the first year of the curriculum is largely set out, and not much of an opportunity to work at a clinic, but certainly your second year and beyond, you do. To work at the South Royalton Legal Clinic, we recommend that students have taken professional responsibility, which is a class where you learn ethics and evidence if you plan to appear in court. But really, I look at the clinic as being part of clinical experience in general, as being part of a trajectory in developing practice-ready students. If you do a clinic, in the second semester of your second year, and then go out and do some sort of experiential placement out in the field in your third year, you leave law school, kind of practice ready. Certainly when you finish your first year of law school, you have some flexibility in terms of your schedule, and you can fit it in, whenever you can. It does make a little bit more sense, sort of later in your law school career after you've had an opportunity to take a few more doctrinal classes. But really at any point in time. In most clinics, I think, Dulcie, you're the same in that we offer not just a regular clinical program, but a student can return for a second semester as an advanced clinician. So if you really like the work that you're doing in the clinic, you can extend it to a second semester. There is a requirement that you do the 6 experiential credits, of course. Almost all clinics offer at least a basic 6 credit program, but certainly you can do more. So really, as far as fitting it into your law school, the course load in law school, it's going to be something you're going to do in your second semester, but certainly you could do it second or third year. We do have a common application that's circulated by the office manager here at the South Royalton Legal Clinic. It goes out to all students who are rising 2Ls and 3Ls to allow them to fill out an application. When you complete the application, you indicate what your clinic preference is. And then the clinic directors review those applications and extend offers to candidates. And you have to let the registrar know, of course. Actually, we let the registrar know when folks are accepted into the clinic. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process.
Great, thank you, Don. We have another question from a question from Neil. I was wondering if one of you could speak a little bit about the dual degree programs and specifically the distinction between the Master of Climate and Environmental Policy versus the Master of Environmental Law. And he says he's so excited to be here with us all. Dean McCormick, I was wondering if you might want to take that one.
Yeah, so a dual degree is really a degree with another school. So we have a number of partnerships with other schools where you can get a degree at Vermont Law School and then or Vermont Law and Graduate School and then have another degree at another school. But we also have joint degrees. And so that might be what you're talking about. So a joint degree is when you get the JD at the same time as a master's degree. And I think you asked about the MSEP and then the MELP. And so the MSEP is really the revised and modern MELP. So we've discontinued the MELP, and that content is captured now in the MSEP. So those are not, you might still see it on our website because there were still some students coming through under the MELP, which is the Masters of Environmental Law and Policy. But now most students will take the Masters of Climate and Environmental Protection, the MSEP. In addition to that joint degree, there's a number of other options for joint degrees. And so maybe Delcy can talk about the joint degree options with her program.
Yeah, so we have a Master's of Public Policy degree that you can do different tracks in. So you can do an animal protection policy track, you can do a clean energy track, you can do a food and ag track, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. There's a general track as well. And the idea there is, I mean, I wanted to create a animal protection public policy degree for a very long time. And it's partly because a lot of what I've done over my years of practice doesn't necessarily require a law degree. A lot has litigation, representing clients, but then some of the regulatory and legislative work doesn't really. And oftentimes law school doesn't focus on those things. And so I think the public policy degree is a really nice complement if you're interested in policy at all, to get both skill sets.
And I would add, we also have a Master's of Arts in Restorative Justice. We call that the MARJ degree. And that's a degree that's really focused on justice reform and in different ways of addressing harm. We are the host of the National Center on Restorative Justice, so it's a good place if you're interested in restorative justice to get that joint degree. The benefit of doing a joint degree is that you can share credits between the two programs. So you can get both degrees in a shorter period of time than if you got the degrees sequentially.
Thank you, Dean McCormick. We have another question. Outside of the externships and extensive network that we have, what do we think is the strongest resource that helps your students achieve success? Maybe if each of the three panelists would answer that.
Yeah, I think I'll talk about the academic success program as being instrumental in student success. And that really starts before you even get to law school. You'll get a option to do an optional program online to teach you some basics of learning the law. And then the academic success program, from the moment you get here until you actually pass the bar exam, will be there to support you. You can really think of them as academic coaches. So they have a team of mentors, and then they have several professors, faculty members in the academic success program. And they can be very helpful, especially for students that maybe have been out of school for a little while longer and are not used to studying and taking tests again. So they can be super helpful with those types of skills and also with the substantive knowledge as well. And so most students that succeed in law school are frequent visitors to our academic success program. Once we get closer to bar exam preparation, they will advise you on how to choose which jurisdiction to take the bar exam, and then they will also provide advice and help you with studying plans. I should have mentioned earlier that one unique feature of our law school is that we have a partnership with Barbary, which is a longstanding and well-known bar exam preparation company. And so Barbary provides supplemental materials through our ASP program from the very start. So they'll provide you supplemental materials for all your 1L classes. And then when you graduate, as part of your tuition, you get that Barbary bar preparation class, which most of you will graduate in May and then take the bar exam in July. And so you'll have that Barbary preparation class as part of your tuition to help you prepare.
Don, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think probably one of the greatest things that we have is this is a very collaborative learning environment. I feel like because we're a small institution, you get to know faculty members, you get to know fellow students, and I think it's very clear that every member of the faculty is equally as invested in the success of the students, not just in law school but beyond. So I think probably one of our greatest strengths is if you're here at VLGS, you are absolutely not a number. You're a person, you're a face, you're somebody that, we're hopefully going to see for a good number of years and years beyond law school. So I think, the expression that I think, Beth, you said it, swans fly together. I mean, it's very true. We're a tight-knit community. We all share this unique experience of going to school here in beautiful South Royalton, Vermont. And I think it's really a sense of community, collaboration, and support. And I think students feel that from the day they step onto campus until the day they leave. So I think that's probably one of our biggest strengths in how we help our students succeed, is that we just create an environment that's collaborative and fosters, a good learning environment.
And Delcy?
I was gonna say what Dawn said, so I'm just gonna elaborate on it. So I've taught at 5 other law schools, and there's not another school like this. And this school is extraordinarily student-centered. Of course, a school should be student-centered, but that's not always the case. And the faculty here are really invested in our students, and we're truly a community. So after this webinar ends, I'm meeting with a student. I'm meeting with another student at 8 a.m. tomorrow, who I'm meeting with every week because he wants some extra support on writing essays. And it's not just me. The faculty here really go out of their way to support our students. And if we notice a student's not showing up in class, we reach out to them directly. We try to see if there's support that they need. So it's a really, really supportive community.
Julie, if I could add one thing too, one thing that we haven't talked about too much is our environmental program. We've talked about it a lot with talking about the clinics and the joint degrees, but our reputation for environmental law and policy is truly unparalleled. We started an environmental program around the same time that the EPA was started, and there started to be environmental regulation. And we have really been a leader in that field for so many years. So that reputation and that name helps students that are interested in environmental law and policy succeed in getting that first job or second job and beyond, because that name is really just very much associated with expertise in environmental law and policy. I was traveling to China last year as part of a trip to talk with some of our Chinese partners. And so many people I met, they don't know where Vermont is at all in the United States, but they know Vermont Law School and they associate it with environmental law and policy. And so that reputation is international as it is national. And it is one thing that I think helps our graduates succeed.
I'm going to add to that too, because 2 of the other law schools I taught at are Pace and Lewis and Clark, which are both known for their environmental law programs.
Ooh.
But the distinction, and they do have good environmental law programs, but we are an environmental law school. It is central to the identity of our school. And so it's a very different kind of place to be because of that.
Thank you, Delcy. So we have another question in the chat from Maria, and she's asked, when do externships typically take place?
I think most students take those in their 3rd year after they've taken evidence professional responsibility, and many of them have had a clinical experience as well. So most students will take it either in the fall or spring semester of their 3rd year. And if you were interested in that AJD program, that's the 6 semesters in 2 calendar years. That can be a nice way to do it because Vermont actually lets you take the bar after 5 semesters. So what some students do in that program is they go fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. So then they have 5 semesters. They take a leave of absence. They take that early bar exam in the summertime. And then for their final semester, they do an externship wherever they want to practice. And then by the time they're done with their externship, they've passed the bar and they're ready to go right into practice. And in many cases, the students will stay on where their externship was and make that their first job. I mean, of course, that doesn't work all the time, but that is a popular path for students in that accelerated JD program.
And I'll just add to that, it is possible to do an externship in your 2nd year, but I strongly encourage students to do a clinic first, to do a clinic in their 2nd year, because you're going to get a level of supervision and mentoring that people out in practice just can't provide. I mean, I've supervised interns when I was out in practice and I just didn't have the capacity. it's a very low student to faculty ratio in the clinics. And so you're getting extensive hand-holding and mentoring, and that's going to prepare you really well for going out into an externship and then of course going out into practice.
And just to add on to that, one of the great things about the Vermont Law School traditional 3-year JD is that you can do, same with the accelerated JD, you can do both, you know, 2 experiential learning opportunities and get academic credit for doing them while you're in the program. So we have a question from Neil. Neil, your second question, I'm going to email you the contact to ask about that too. But your third question is there, this is kind of a fun one, is there a good relationship between the school and a certain aged US senator? You would love to have the opportunity to work with him.
Well, during Bernie Sanders' heyday, during his first run for presidency, he was pictured at the airport with a Vermont Law School bag, and interest in the school increased after that. So we do have a relationship with him. He holds an honorary degree from the school. He's been our commencement speaker. He's been a great friend to the school in helping us secure federal funding for various programs. And many of our alums have worked for him. So it is a close relationship.
And I was going to mention, I did mention in the chat that we end up getting a lot of referrals from his office. We work closely with his veteran liaison group. They send a rep down to our Veterans Day program here on campus. And he's come very close to visiting the clinic. Beth, you may recall, we had that brief scare where he was a few miles away and he almost showed up at our office. But he's a big fan of the work that we do at the law school, at the clinics in general. A great resource. And one of the benefits of being in a small state. I feel like, you know, it's the kind of office that we can pick up the phone and get somebody on the phone who knows us and has an interest in seeing us succeed.
And I'll add, just to emphasize what a small state and tight community we are, our other senator, my husband, who's also on the faculty, changed his tire on the side of the road because that's how things are in Vermont.
I hadn't heard that.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
All right. Austin has asked, outside of externships and extensive the networks that we have, what do we think is the next strongest resource that helps our students achieve success? I know, Beth, you.
I think that's the same question that got bumped with the thank you.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thought it sounded familiar. Mm-hmm. We're open for any more questions. All right, well, we wanted to thank you all for coming tonight, and I wanted to let you know of a couple of events that are coming up. We typically do our webinar information sessions on Wednesday evenings, and next coming up on Wednesday, March 12th is a Life in Vermont. You're going to meet several current Vermont Law School students who are going to talk about finding housing at Vermont Law School, what it's like to live in this beautiful place, what do they do in a small town like this for fun. So it'll be a good opportunity to get a great sense of all that. That'll be Wednesday, 3/12 at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then 2 weeks later on March 26th, also a Wednesday at 6 p.m., we have an event that's about the next gen bar exam. Where Dean McCormick will be your primary panelist hosting that event as well. So thank you again for joining us. And if there's ever any questions that we didn't get to, or if you'd like an application fee waiver, feel free to email me or Ellen in the chat, and we'll get right back to you. Thanks again for coming tonight. And
Thanks, everyone. Great to meet you.
Thank you.